He only called after midnight, when honesty felt safer. The first time, my phone buzzed on the nightstand, a nameless number glowing in the dark. A part of me, the sensible part, screamed not to answer. But a bigger, more curious part reached out. His voice was a low rumble, laced with the weariness of a long day. He didn't say his name, and I didn't ask. He just started talking, as if we were picking up a conversation from years ago. He spoke of crowded city streets that felt lonely, of deadlines that gnawed at his peace, of a dream he once had to be a musician. I listened, wrapped in my blanket, the city lights outside my window blurring into soft jewels. I didn't offer advice or judgment. I just listened. When he was done, he whispered a thank you and hung up. I was left with the dial tone and a strange sense of connection to a man I'd never met. The calls became a ritual. Always after midnight. Always a different story. One night, he told me about his childhood dog, a scruffy terrier named Rusty, who was his best friend. He described their adventures in the woods behind his house, the way Rusty would dig for treasures that were never there. His voice was lighter that night, tinged with a nostalgia so sweet it was almost painful. Another night, he talked about his first heartbreak, a girl named Sarah in high school who loved poetry and wore yellow ribbons in her hair. He didn't sound sad, just reflective, as if he were looking at a faded photograph. Through his stories, I started to piece him together. He was a puzzle of late-night confessions, a mosaic of memories shared only in the quiet hours. I never spoke much. I was his sounding board, his silent confidant in the vast, sleeping city. I'd make myself a cup of chamomile tea, settle into my favorite armchair, and wait. The world would fall silent, and then my phone would light up. I started to wonder about him during the day. Was the man with the sad eyes on the subway him, or the guy laughing with his friends at the coffee shop? He was a ghost in my daylight hours, a vivid presence only in the dark. I never tried to find him. It felt like breaking a sacred rule. Our connection existed in that specific, magical space between one day and the next. To bring it into the light felt like it would make it disappear, but the curiosity was a persistent hum. I found myself looking at strangers a little longer, wondering if their voice would hold that familiar, weary rumble. My friends would ask why I looked so tired, why I had dark circles under my eyes. I'd just smile and say I was reading a good book. In a way, I was. I was reading the chapters of his life, one late-night call at a time. One night, the call was different. His voice was tight, strained. He told me he'd been passed over for a promotion he'd worked tirelessly for. He spoke of the bitter taste of disappointment, the feeling of being invisible. He wasn't just telling a story this time. He was living it. I could hear the clink of ice in a glass, the deep, shaky breaths he took between sentences. For the first time, I broke my silence. I didn't offer platitudes. I just said, "That sounds incredibly hard. I'm sorry." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. So long I thought he'd hung up. Then I heard a soft sound, something between a sigh and a sob. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick. "Thank you for that." In that moment, our anonymous connection deepened. I wasn't just a listener anymore. I was a witness. I realized I was falling for a voice, for a collection of stories whispered through a phone. It was an absurd, impossible kind of love. How can you love someone you've never seen, whose name you don't even know? But primera did. I loved his vulnerability, the way he painted pictures with his words, the trust he placed in a stranger. The calls were my secret, my hidden treasure. They made the lonely nights feel full, purposeful. I was the keeper of his midnight thoughts. It was a strange and beautiful responsibility. I started to wonder if he felt it too. Did he wonder about the woman on the other end of the line? Did he imagine my face, my life, the room I was in as I listened to him? Or was I just a disembodied voice, a function he dialed when the world became too much? Then, for a whole week, he didn't call. The silence after midnight was deafening. My apartment, which had once felt like a cozy sanctuary for our calls, now felt empty and vast. Each night, I'd stare at my phone, willing it to ring. I scrolled through my call log, at the long list of unknown number, a testament to our strange relationship. I felt a pang of loss so sharp it surprised me. Had I imagined it all? Was it just a fleeting, bizarre chapter that was now closed? I mourned the loss of the stories, the shared quiet, The connection. I felt like a book with the last chapter ripped out. The city outside my windows seemed colder, the nights longer. The magic was gone. On the 8th night, as I was finally starting to accept the silence, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart leaped. I answered, my hand trembling slightly. "Hello," I said, my voice barely a whisper. It was him, but his voice was different. Clearer, closer, not filtered through the tinny speaker of a phone. "I'm outside," he said. Primera, fros. Outside. I walked to my window and pulled back the curtain. Standing on the street below, bathed in the glow of a streetlight, was a man holding a phone to his ear. He looked up, right at my window, and he smiled. It was a hesitant, hopeful smile. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know his face, but I knew that smile. It was the smile I had imagined when he talked about his dog, Rusty. The smile I had pictured when he finally felt a moment of peace. He stayed on the line. "I know this breaks the rules," he said, his voice soft, but I couldn't just be a voice anymore. I had to see the person who saved me on so many nights. I didn't know what to say. My world had just tilted on its axis. The ghost from my phone was real. He was standing on my street. "My name is Leo," he said. I whispered my name back. "I'm Clara." Leo. A name, a face. A real person. The puzzle was finally complete. The stories now had a face. The late-night confessions now had a source. He asked if he could take me for coffee. In the morning, in the daylight, it was a terrifying and exhilarating thought. Our midnight world was about to meet the sun. I went downstairs and opened the door. Standing there, he was just as I had pictured and nothing like I had pictured, all at once. We just stood there for a moment, in the quiet lobby of my building, the space between us charged with all the unspoken words, all the shared secrets of the past few months. It wasn't midnight. It was almost 3 a.m. A new day was on the horizon, and for the first time, it didn't feel like an ending, but a beginning. Our story wasn't just about late calls anymore. It was about what happens when you finally step out of the shadows and into the light, ready to see what the morning brings. It turns out, sometimes the most profound connections are made when we feel brave enough to be honest, even if it's just to a stranger in the dark. This story is a reminder that connection can be found in the most unexpected places. Sometimes, all we need is someone to listen, without judgment. If you ever feel alone in the dark, please remember there are people who care. You can reach out to friends, family, or professional services. There are hotlines and support groups available 24/7 that can offer a listening ear. You are not alone. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our story today. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.